Hey girl, welcome to Finding My Best Self, the podcast where it's totally okay to show up in your leggings and messy bun. Because let's be real, that's our uniform here. The only rule is to be unapologetically yourself.
And I'm Mandi, and joining me is Pam, the queen of finding the silver linings. We're here to share laughs, tears, and everything in between. Think of us as your new best friends with some stories to tell and wisdom to share.
From face palms to victories, we're diving into the journey of self-discovery, wellness, and what it means to truly embrace who you are. So whether you're conquering the world or just trying to find your phone in the black hole, purse, we've got you covered.
Because here it's all about encouraging you to lace up those sneakers, or don't, we're not judging. And join us as we explore what it truly means to own your confidence and find your best self.
So pour yourself a cup of coffee or a glass of wine, and let's get into it.
Welcome back to the Finding My Best Self podcast. I'm Mandi St, Germain, and today I have Katey Scott with me. Katey Scott and I met a couple of years ago. We have similar interests, and our daughters met at the school that they were going to. And so Katey is going to share a little bit about her. But before we get into it, I want you to, if you can, by the end of the podcast episode, leave us a review. We always love to hear what you have to say, how you feel the episodes are going, and also leave us some topics in there. We want to share the content that you want to hear and that you love. So, Katey, I'm going to let you kind of introduce yourself a little bit. Just tell us a little tidbit about you, and I'll give it over.
So I'm Katey, like Mandi said. I am a mama to a 13-year-old. Can't believe it. And unfortunately, approaching 2 years of widowhood. You know, that it's just a journey with that in itself. I am luckily a stay-at-home mom, in my husband and I's lives. We always prepared for the what ifs, and thankfully, and, obviously I'd do anything to get him back and have him here, but I've been thankful and appreciative of all of his hard work over his lifetime that I'm still able to be completely present with Maddie. I didn't have to hop into finding a job and things like that. So stay-at-home mama. I love fashion, all the girly things, makeup, hair, everything that comes with that. A big part of my life since Josh passed away has been the gym and mental health, and just learning to take care of myself. And it's okay to put myself first, because if I'm not my best self, I can't be there for other people. I am going to be 32 this year. It's weird. Like, that's one of those, you turn 30 and you're like, oh my gosh, but then
I
now
know.
Everyone told me the 30s were the best years of my life, or being in my 30s have been the best years of my life. And when I turned 30, Josh had just passed away. And for me, I'm like, okay, how are the 30s
Right,
the best years of my life?
Right.
But given the circumstances, it's true. Like, you are just so much more developed, and I've just learned how to soak in and appreciate the day to day. And the 30s, my 30s have, I'm only a few years in, but it really has been some pretty decent years.
Well, coming from an elder 30, okay, almost 40, it is absolutely the best years of your life. And honestly, I'm kind of looking forward to 40, even though that they say that your body starts to decline. So I'm not looking forward to that. But it is. It's exactly what you're saying. You feel like you finally step into you and you know who you are. 35 is kind of that point where it starts to change again. But definitely, if I could go back, I always say like 30 to 32 is like my golden years. Like I felt my best self then. Absolutely.
I get
So
that.
you're there. You're there. You're living in it.
I'm hoping this year is a little bit
Yeah.
better than the last few years.
Right. Right.
Just in everything. I feel like the last few years have been just like an adjustment period,
Hmm.
learning how to go about my days without Josh here, how to navigate decisions and situations, and being a mom, and just everything that comes with that when your world gets flipped upside down.
Yeah.
And, going through grief, there's this numb period, this you're just tunnel vision, how to like go about each day. And I feel like I'm now at that point where I've kind of learned everything. So now it's like, now I'm tunnel vision for this year of, okay, I've done all of this. I
Hmm.
know how to process the feelings. I know how to navigate certain situations. So let's take that into this year and build off of it.
Right. And I do think that too. I mean, I totally think that God put it cross our paths at
Oh,
crazy timing.
for sure.
Met Katey right before, that happened. And I just feel like just watching you over the last couple of years, like through all the struggle and through all the grief, like to continuously inspire so many other people is just beyond me because I mean, most people would shut down. I mean, and I'm sure I know you have your days, and I'm not
Oh,
saying
for
that
sure.
every day is like, oh, I'm, Miss Inspirational over here, but I do know that you sharing that side of yourself. And we're going to tag Katey's socials in the show notes because I mean, she's real and she's honest and she has her hard days. And, you go through all of the grief. And I do feel like you've said before, people don't talk about that. People don't share
No.
that. And I feel like just watching your journey over the last couple of years has been so inspiring to so many others because not everyone can relate to your situation, but we can relate to going through tough things and
Hmm.
being able to see someone else going through something tough and still getting up every day. Like you said, putting your mental health and your fitness and your just overall health first. And then being able to transcend to this year. Cause I truly feel this is your year. Like I just, everything that you have planned, and we're going to talk about that later today. So kind of segueing into that, Katey was chosen as one of our Beyond the Cape icons. We choose these icons based off of our mission and vision with MBS. And we call it the Woman Beyond the Cape because outside of everything that we do, whether we're a mama, a wife, a sister, a daughter, we are our own people. And
Hmm.
so Katey's story has just been something that has inspired multiple people. I mean, anyone that you talk to, that she talks to, follows, your story has just been something remarkable. And so we wanted to honor you with this amazing opportunity. And so, what does that feel for you to be the next Beyond the Cape icon and just kind of stepping into that world?
I don't know. To a certain extent, it feels unreal. And it's, MBS is new in the sense of things and just getting started. But in my heart, I feel like it's this big, grand thing that I'm like, oh my gosh, they chose me. Like, me? Oh my goodness.
Well, yeah, of course.
And so it's just I don't even know it. And I told y'all this when we had the call that y'all gave me the news. It's just like this speechless, overwhelming feeling. Like I'm so honored, and then to be a part of the podcast with that, it's like to share my story and to let people know, just like you said, we all go through tough times.
Mhm.
And it's no matter what you go through, it's going to be okay. You may not
Mhm.
see it in that exact moment, and it may take some time, but it's going to be okay. And like I said, putting yourself first and taking care of yourself and being your best self helps navigate through some of that. And so to be a part of MBS, my best self, like, need I say
That's
more?
it.
I'm like, that's
Yeah.
my motto right now
Right. It is.
is to be my best self. And
Mm-hmm.
so I just, it's a blessing. Us crossing paths have been a blessing that has led to so many amazing things. And like, I'm so honored and appreciative of you and Pam.
Well, and we're appreciative of you. Like I said, it's just been the way that things have just, we say, worked its way out, but really it's been God's plan all along. That I just feel like even with Maddie and Chloe, our daughters, they're both around 13.
Mhm.
And that's just the perfect age for us to also show them to be their best self. And so I just think it's perfect timing that, we're able to share your story and to share all the things that you're doing. And so part of being a Beyond the Cape icon is that Katey gets to choose the I am affirmations for the next pieces in the collection and the collection name. So we're going to kind of move into that a little bit because this is why I love that we're doing this with the podcast, because on our website, you'll be able to see the little snippet of the descriptions of everything, but to hear why and to have you share why you chose these affirmations in the collection name is just gonna to add to it even more. So kind of going into it, it's a two-piece collection, and so I'll let you kind of go into what affirmations you chose and kind of why you chose those.
Okay. So for the collection itself, this one I struggled with. All of them I struggled with. And the previous collections, there's been 3 items and then the collection name. So it was like, yeah, it's just one more affirmation, but I'm like, I don't know how Brandy and Gabe did it, how
I
they
mean,
picked that
either.
one more, because I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
But for the collection itself, and you've said it numerous of times, it is called I Am Inspiring.
Hmm.
And it's kind of for that reason. Like, my journey and my vocalness about what this journey has been like, how I've gotten through the day to day situations, the grief. I learned that me sharing that, and not only to people who haven't lost a spouse,
Hmm.
but to my widow community that I have just grown to love, and those friendships I've built, the amount of just messages and the thank yous, and you've reminded me that I am capable. You've reminded me that it's going to be okay. All of these kind, heartfelt comments I've received from them, on top of people who haven't lost a spouse, but have, maybe lost a child or whatever,
Hmm.
or who only lost extended relatives. People on the outside just looking in,
Hmm.
saying, you're such an inspiration. You're so strong. Which, that's, I don't know. The strong word is like a love hate for me being through this journey. But I don't know. It just kind of came to me where it was like, you know what? I am an inspiration. And I'm not saying that in like a cocky way or
No,
anything,
I don't
but
think so either.
people don't talk about it. People don't. It's one of those topics that kind of just gets brushed under the rug. Like, going into this, I had no idea
Right.
what it was going to be like. Like, all you really hear about is, oh, you have a funeral,
Hmm.
grief sucks, time goes on.
Right. Right.
There's no of the in between, like the struggles and the things that come up that not everyone thinks about
Right.
when they think of loss and grief. So that is the name for the collection. And it's one of those, like, when it just came to me, it came to me.
I
But
know. It's perfect. It really is. Like, I mean, we've said, like you said, we said it at the beginning multiple times. It's just that inspiration because, and I want to kind of connect it too, because even if you haven't lost someone, I feel like the way that you share the day to day is even for, I mean, people that go through depression or that are, going through hard times within themselves, a lot of the things that you relate back to they can relate it to. So it's such like a deeper side that like people
Yes.
just don't share on social media, but we need to, because if it's not talked about, people are just suffering in silence, or they can't find people that have the like-minded mindset and
Yep.
know to, I'm getting up the next day and I'm going to. And I love that you share the hard days where you
Mhm.
just, because you're very fashionable and I love it. So if you want outfit ideas, go follow Katey. But on days where you just don't want to get dressed, you're very open with that. And you're like, nope, today's just one of those days. And so it's just that real, authentic vulnerability that we need to see more of in our world, because not everything's picture perfect. And so the I Am Inspiring was just the perfect name. So I'll let you go into the pieces. I'm going to be quiet.
The next one, I guess I will do the tank. For the tank, I chose I am faithful. That one was an easy, it came to me immediately. Pam and
Mhm.
Mandi and I had our call, and they gave me the news that they chose me as an icon for this collection. And, we had our chit chat and everything. And as soon as we got off the call, it was like a God thing. It was like, you have been faithful.
Mhm.
Look what that faithfulness is bringing to you.
Mhm.
And then like this morning, and I texted Mandi and Pam, I'm sitting down, getting ready, doing my makeup, and see, now I'm going mine. CC Winans, what's the name?
Goodness.
Goodness
Goodness
of
of God.
God comes on, and brain fog, it's a
Yeah.
thing. And not just with grief, but with so much stuff. But anyway, Goodness of God comes on, and one of the repetitive verses is, all
Yeah.
my life you have been faithful.
Oh, I would be in
And
tears. Like, in
every time
tears.
I hear that song, it's so many
I
times I
know.
have to be like, next, next,
Yes.
because I'm like, this
Like, I
isn't a
can't
crying
today.
day.
Yeah.
And I had just put my makeup on, and
Mhm.
I was so close to hitting the next button, and I didn't. I just
Yeah.
let it play, but I kept my
Yeah.
composure
Like, no.
because it just felt like a full circle moment
Yeah.
of being faithful
Mhm.
and just trusting in God to lead me down this journey,
Mhm.
and the opportunities He has brought to me, and just the people He has brought into my life, and so many things. And I wholeheartedly thank God for that. And
Yeah.
I believe it is because I have been faithful. I have trusted in Him to guide me and lead me in this journey.
Mhm. I
And
100%
then,
agree.
yeah. And so then the next piece is the leggings. And for that one, I chose I am courageous. This one was kind of a hard one because, I wanted, as I said, I have a love hate relationship with the word strong, but I have learned not to take offense to that when people are like, oh, you were so strong.
So strong.
And it's
Yeah.
like, I'm not strong. Like, I just have to get through this. But
Right.
in reality, like, I am.
Mhm.
And anyone you talk to who has been through some trauma that hears that, they're like, ugh, that,
Yeah.
that word is like almost a cringe. But like, that was my first choice. But
Mhm.
obviously, we already have our I Am Strong
Mhm.
leggings from Brandy's collection, and which are my absolute favorite right now. But
Shout out.
side note. And so then I was like, okay, I feel like I need something else. And so then I had thought like of a couple other affirmations, and I'm like, I just wasn't feeling it. And
Mhm.
then courageous came to mind, and I feel like courageous was all of those affirmations like in one. It wasn't just like this one word,
Right.
because courageous to me is being strong. It is
Mhm.
being capable. It is all of these things. And so I was like, that's it.
Yeah.
Because I am courageous.
Right.
I've dealt with the battles. I've chosen to get up each and every day. whether I've chosen to get up and then move to the couch and
You're
just,
up.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've chosen to nourish my body. I've chosen
Mhm.
to go to the gym.
Mm.
A lot of people are like, oh, okay, well, that's just your everyday. But when you're in that
Yeah.
mindset and that grief has just taken over of the, I can't, I'm not capable, I'm not strong, I'm not this, it's like, no, I am courageous because I am capable, I am strong, and I can
Right.
do this, and I will do this. And so coming up with that one, it took a little bit of thinking,
No,
but
I love that because I honestly think the same thing, and that Bible verse kept coming up whenever you sent Pam and I the affirmations. That Bible verse, the Joshua, I think it's 1:9, where it's the strong and courageous. I was like, this is literally Katey's
mhm,
verse. Like,
mhm,
and so for you to choose that word, it's like all encompassing of everything you stand for, because not only that, but you're courageous to share your story, because a lot of people would not. And like you said, getting into those darker days, you have to be strong to get up and go to the gym. And I mean, I admire you every day that I see you out there, because I'm the one that's like at home, like, oh, I'm struggling to do anything. And here you are crushing it every single day. I just feel like all of those encompass and embody everything you stand for. And so to be able to share that, and for other women whenever they do put these clothes on to feel that, and that's part of our mission, is for when you step into these pieces that you tell yourself the
yeah,
affirmations. You
yeah,
look at yourself and say, I am courageous, I am faithful. And I'm just so excited for you to get your pieces on and to be able to see it all come together. And that kind of goes more into like your faith and just being faithful, like you were saying. And I know that we've talked about this before, but is there anything that you do every day that kind of keeps you on track? I mean, I know days have to come and go where they're just unbearable some days.
yeah.
And so, I mean, obviously I know that you work out and things like that, but is there anything that you do to kind of set your mindset back up to kind of keep yourself going every day?
Yes. So, obviously the gym is kind of like a non-negotiable for me
Mhm.
in the most part. There's some days where I'm just like, I've got to rest,
Yeah.
like as bad as I want to go to the gym, or sometimes I'm like, I'm not going today. Like
Mhm.
I got other stuff I need to do. I got to run errands, whatever. But 80% of the time, the gym is kind of my top five
Mhm.
non-negotiable. My number one is obviously like just my trust and my faith in God.
Mhm.
I I'm trying to think like how to. So I have developed such a strong relationship with God since Josh has passed away. And it's not even necessarily something that I didn't have before.
Mhm.
But when something like this happens, you're like, I don't know what else to do. So
Right.
I'm like, I'm giving it to God, and
Mhm.
I'm going to pray every day and read my Bible and so on and so forth. But there came a point in this that I wasn't opening my Bible
Mhm.
at all. And the main reason for that was because it was like every time I opened it and I was doing whatever Bible study or just to read my Bible or whatever it may be, I have my notes all over the place. And it was like everything I would see would bring me back to, I told myself I wasn't going to cry for this,
I
but it would
know, I'm
bring me
hoping.
back. It would
Right.
bring me back to Josh being here.
Mhm.
And it just got to the point where it was like my relationship with God was bringing me happiness, but it was like every time I would open my Bible, it was bringing me sadness
Right, you were
because
reminded.
it was just a different time in my life. And as great as it was to see those things, it also made me miss those things even more.
Mm.
Seeing the different things we went through in our relationship and the growth and all the struggles, all of that. It was just like, okay, I can't do this anymore. And so it
Mhm.
just got to the point where I would pray every day, morning and night, throughout the day, whatever, timing. But I wasn't, I was going to church or watching church. There's times where I'm like, I'm not going, man. A lot of it had to do with because it's like every time I'd go to church, I felt like Pastor Tommy was just speaking to me.
Well,
And
yeah.
I'm like, and I'm
Well,
having to get up and leave.
we had those conversations, and I feel like too it was probably a lot of the people in our community that
Yeah.
would see you. And so that's kind of one of those things too, because and I do feel that. I mean, we were going to the same church at the time, and the whole time I'm listening to it and I knew you were there, and I was just like, oh my goodness. Like, I know that just has to be, he was talking to you, by the way, like every time. I'm like, oh gosh, Katey, which was a good thing. But at the same time,
Yes,
I'm sure it was very overwhelming and
it
just very
was.
much like heavy.
Yes, and it got to the point where it was like, on top of the not opening my Bible, it was like, I'm not going to church right now. Like, I'm
Right.
just not in a headspace to keep my composure.
Yeah.
And not that it's embarrassing, but it's kind of embarrassing to be sobbing and you have to get up and walk out. And
Right.
then poor
Especially if
Maddie's
people,
there.
yeah, if people don't know the situation, because I
Right.
mean, I wholeheartedly believe that too. I mean, that's with anything that happens in church. Like even now, that if I start crying, it's like you're just like
I
hiding. Like,
know.
let
You're
me have a
like,
moment. Let me have my moment. Like, I'm gonna be okay. But like people just don't know. And like you said, with Maddie, she's probably just like, Mom, like,
I know.
get
And
it
then it's like
together.
I get myself together and I come back and she's like, "Are you okay?" Or she would follow me and like
I
try to
know. She's
comfort
such
me
a
and be there.
sweetheart.
And I'm just like, "Oh my gosh." So there became a point in time where church was kind of not happening either. I was watching at home because I'm like, if I have a meltdown, I'm at
Yeah.
home. So it's
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
But so at the end of this past year, I was just like, want to I want to build that relationship with God again and deeper than what I have, rather than just talking to him and letting him guide me. I'm like, I really want to get back into my Bible studies and things like that. So I ordered myself a new Bible and all the things to go with it, the
Mhm.
tabs and the
Oh
notepads.
yeah, look, I got mine right here. It's all ready to go. Highlighters, all the things.
Yes. And so I got all of that and prepped it and got it ready. And so I was like, that way when January 1st hits, I can hit the ground. And so that's
Mhm,
what I've done. And so this year, that is something I have implemented back into my routine. I
mhm.
try to do it every morning just because I feel like what better way to start your day than to have coffee and talk with God and read his word and study the Bible. And it's one of those things just like going to church. It's whatever my study is for the morning that I'm doing. I'm like, I know you're speaking to me right now,
Like,
but
I get it. Yeah. That's the
so
best ones though. I mean,
it
that's the best that
is.
you're just like, "Okay, like I hear you. I see it,"
Yes, I know.
And
And sometimes I'm like, give me a sign. And then I open it
yeah.
up. I'm like, I wasn't meaning that kind of sign. So, so far this year, that has been a non-negotiable for me, my number one thing, because I feel like I start my day with God, everything else just kind of falls into place. The other thing, which to be completely honest, I've struggled with so far this year, the holidays are hard with
Mhm,
grief, but it's such a busy time that it's just the getting through and the getting by, but it's like the hangover of the holidays that
mhm,
really hit.
mhm.
And then it's like on top of that, so Josh's accident happened on March 3rd. And so it's like that holiday hangover, but it's also like I know what's coming.
Right.
And it's this time of year between the holidays and March, it's just such a dreaded time for me. And so typically one of my other get through the day things is getting up and getting dressed and making myself feel good, because like I said, I am a stay-at-home mom, and we live in middle of nowhere, So it's not like there's places for me to go and things for me to do. And I don't like driving 20 or 40 minutes either direction to have to go do things.
Right.
So a lot of the times I am home, and that can get hard. And so I find if I do this, then I'm okay. It gives me that boost of energy, that confidence, and that rush of I feel put together. I feel I'm going to accomplish things today, and so on and so forth. And so that's another thing. And then let's see, my Bible, my time with God, the gym, getting ready. I mean, really, those are like my top three. And just on the hard days, another thing is just allowing myself to feel the emotions of it all. Because for a long time, just like the topic of grief, I was just like pushing it under the rug. And like, I don't have time for this. I don't have the mental capacity to deal with this today. Like, it's overwhelming. I don't want to. And that never ended up well because it was just like all that overwhelming mental capacity, can't handle it, this, and this, that you just keep pushing, pushing, and pushing, and pushing. It's eventually going to come back to bite you in the ass. And then when you are least capable of dealing with it is when it's all going to come out. And I learned that after many times that, okay, well, when you're feeling like this, deal with it in that moment, because if not, it's going to be the most inconvenient time where it's just all going to hit you. And then you're going to be pissed off at yourself because you're going to be like, why I did this to myself, and it could have been prevented. So I think those are kind of my musts and the things that I do. And then on the days where I don't get up and I don't get dressed and I'm allowing myself to feel, I try and just take it easy, and not overwhelm myself with the day-to-day tasks, as hard as that is. But laying on the couch and reading a book, or rotting and binge watching something, or eating things that I'm going to regret later, or like, it's okay to do that.
Right.
And I think that's something everyone of like, oh, well, that's unhealthy, or eating like crap isn't beneficial. And no, it's not. But it's
No,
okay. Like,
right. And I feel like it goes with those expectations. Like, you can't expect to be on 10 every single day. Like, everybody
nobody's
can get there.
perfect.
No.
Yes, and there's no perfect way to deal with anything. And it just, you do what you feel is best for you. And for me, sometimes it's eating a whole bag of Doritos
Yeah.
or a frozen pizza. And that's something, the mom guilt sets in sometimes, where it's like, I'm not cooking dinner tonight. I'm not cooking dinner tomorrow night. I'm not cooking dinner all week. And it's just like, well, shit, I feel shitty because we ate out every night, or we just made do with what was at home. And I haven't given my kid a home cooked meal for a week, but she understands. And honestly, she's like, oh, we get to eat out again tonight?
Well, I
Okay.
was about to say, we call it girl dinner over here because when Kenny was deployed, that was 100% what we would do. I mean, there was just some days you're just not there. And
Yeah.
we go back to that whole, I have 10% to give, and dinner is just not one of those things that's going to make it, like, we'll survive. We can eat ramen noodles all week and still be alive. Like, it's going to be okay.
I know. And it's just
So,
like, and I think the biggest thing for me, it's like, it's not even necessarily the cooking, it's the cleaning up afterwards.
yes.
I'm like, my
Yes.
kitchen is clean, and
Yeah.
having a clean kitchen brings me peace. And so I'm like,
Exactly.
I'm already unmotivated to cook. I know I'm going to be unmotivated to clean afterwards.
Right.
So we're just not doing
Yeah,
it.
this is not happening.
Yeah.
I agree. I do. And I do think, and I'm kind of glad that you brought up Maddie too, because like I said, just kind of going into having a teenager and being able to kind of go through these things with her there, and then obviously having to, take care of her emotions and the things that she's going through. So do you find that a lot of the things that you do y'all kind of do together, because I do
Oh
feel
yeah.
like you're very much like that inspiring, empowering mother that you're an open book. And so I'm assuming that's the same way with Maddie and just trying to work through that with her too.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, she is my everything and my absolute best friend. You know, obviously I am mother first.
Mm-hmm.
But we do everything together. And I am kind of an open book to a certain extent. You know,
Right.
there's boundaries and things like that, but I mean, at first I wasn't. You know, once Josh passed away, it was like have a smile on your face all the time because you want her to be happy. But then I quickly learned she can see right through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
She could see right through it, and she would pick up on the littlest things, and I'm like, "You know what? Why hide it?
Right. She's willing
Show
through it
her
too.
that it's
Mm-hmm.
okay to have a bad day, to have a bad week. Show her it's okay to struggle because that's life is not sunshine and rainbows.
Right.
There are trials and tribulations, and if I can help her learn that at 13, then I feel like I am helping her out in the long run and setting her up for success, you know, as an because you know, growing up myself, I know my parents had their own struggles, but they hid a lot of it from us.
Yeah.
And so, and I know they did that to protect us, but then you go into adulthood and you're like, "Oh shit." You
Yeah.
know,
This is real. This is real life.
reality hits you in the face and you're like, "Dang, okay."
Right.
And so if I can help prepare her for that now, then I feel like I'm doing what I should be doing as a mother. And, you know, in regards to our day to day life, you know, she's in dance and it is very time consuming. But when she does have free time, like she does come with me to the gym and, you know, back on taking care of yourself and being healthy and your mental health and things like that. I want her to know these things that the gym is a good place or working out at home or doing whatever. I started doing yoga and meditation again. And so just like doing that around her so she sees like taking time for yourself
Right.
is such a positive thing. And having her join in, we love to travel and we love eating out and trying new foods. And I'm a total foodie and I'm rubbing off on her completely, which I love because a lot of kids nowadays are like mac and cheese and chicken nuggets,
Right.
you
Right.
know? And don't get me wrong, she loves a good mac and cheese and some chicken nuggets, but like this child loves oysters and steak and
She's
sushi,
willing to try. That's good. She's
anything.
willing to
Yes.
explore.
But we've learned that to a certain extent, like we are all we have. You know, we
Mm-hmm.
live here, middle of nowhere, Louisiana, and we don't have family right next door to us. You know, my parents and a few of my siblings live in Houston, and then the rest of my siblings and family live in Lafayette, which are, you know, hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes away from here. So it really is her and
Yeah.
we have neighbors around and friends here who if we needed anything would step up in a heartbeat, but in your day-to-day
Day to
life
day. Yeah.
it is just us, and
Mm-hmm.
so we depend on each other with everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it so much because I just know as she gets older and once she becomes an adult, I know I'm doing everything I can to
Mm-hmm.
prepare her and set her up for success and
Mm-hmm.
to be able to navigate life. And I understand life changes every day and
Right.
times change because back when we were younger, it's not what it is today. You know, you have
No.
social media and technology and the
Mm-hmm.
internet and all the things. But it's like when we were younger, you had to go play outside. You had to go do this. You walked down the street to go see if your friends were home. And, you know, there wasn't this, hey, da 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 da. So it's also learning to navigate this new age, this technology. I want social media. No.
Yeah, no,
We
absolutely
are
not.
not there yet. But all
Not
my
until
friends,
you're
I don't
40.
care what all your friends have. We are
And
not.
yeah, we're going through the same thing. And
Yeah.
I think I'm at the point now where they're going to have to be out of high school.
Yeah.
I really feel like that's where I'm at. And I know that they're going to probably hate me for that, but they're just
They
not
will also
ready.
thank you one day,
They're
you
just not
know?
ready
No,
developmentally to be able to
no.
handle all of that.
Mm-mm.
And so I feel like once they go into college and, then I mean, research, your brain is not
Oh,
developed till
yeah.
you're like 5. So it's like, no, we're not
Yeah.
dragging all that into
Mm-mm.
into it. So I'm 100% with you. Like,
Yeah.
but
It's a no-go.
yes. But yes, navigating teenagers will be a new thing for us and definitely kind of helping them through everything. But I do feel like both of us kind of have that same mindset where putting yourself first, whether it is for a little bit of, your day or anything like that, that's going to set the tone for how they treat themselves, how they feel about themselves, and being able to know that it's worth it. Like they're worth it. They're worthy and capable of so much more.
Yeah.
And I do think that everything that you're doing is setting her up for success, and she's already a beautiful, amazing girl. So I'm excited to kind of see how all that goes with y'all. But kind of getting into a piece of advice that you want to kind of leave with our listeners today, just with, we have the Bible verse attached to everything with MBS, and it's the strength and dignity, the Proverbs verse. And I just feel like that one's so fitting for you because you carry your strength, your dignity, you're constantly clothed in that, just like the Bible verse says. So, what's something that you could leave today as like a little piece of advice for our followers and just something that they can take with them?
I think the one thing, and it's something I preach often for those who do follow me on social media, it's have those tough discussions with your spouse. And if you're not married or you don't have a spouse, have the discussions with your closest family member of what if situations, because I mentioned a little bit earlier, it's like Josh and I always prepared for the what ifs, and but it was more so the financials of the what ifs, to make sure Maddie and I would be taken care of, or just savings and life insurance and all the things like that. But we had just moved here and been here only 9 months when he passed away. And, we had talked about, okay, when we pass away, this is what we want. We want to be buried next to each other and things like that. And then he passes away and we're in this new place. And I'm like, well, I don't want to bury him here because what if I don't stay? But I
Right.
didn't want to bury him back in Houston because what if I do stay? And it
Mm-hmm.
was an internal struggle, and sometimes something I still struggle with, like, did I make the right decision? And
Mm-hmm.
ultimately I did decide to have him cremated, so
Mm-hmm.
that way bring him with me wherever I
Right. Take you
go,
with you wherever you
and later on I can put him in a cemetery. That's always an option, but right now, like, at that point, it was like, oh shoot, like, we didn't talk about this. And so it's just having those tough discussions, and not even necessarily about death, but you never know what's going to happen. I hate the fact of just thinking of how many other people there are out there that had to make those decisions. And just knowing that almost 2 years in, it's still something I struggle with, that I often think of and often find myself like, are you mad at me? Did I make the right
You're like
decision?
praying, like,
I know. I'm sorry if that's not what you wanted.
yeah.
And so many other things in life since he's passed that I've learned I've had to navigate, and didn't realize how much I depended on him for a lot of those decisions, of just like having his confirmation.
Oh, for sure.
And I know no matter what, he's proud of me, and he's happy for the most part of a lot of the decisions I've made. I'm sure sometimes he's like, Katey, really? That's the choice you made. But I think of like his little banter and the
Oh
comments he
yeah.
would make, but it just brings me joy.
Yeah.
So anyway, it would just be have those tough discussions, have those unwanted discussions, have the nitty gritty, and like to add to that, get life insurance. Even if it's enough to cover the funeral. And the younger you are, the cheaper it is. Do it, and especially if you have a spouse and kids, like it is hard to navigate financially. And at first I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Like, I'm going to have to get a job and do this and do that. And I knew we had life insurance. I knew all these things and the things we prepared for and what if, but when you're in that moment, it's just like this immediate stress of how am I going to survive this
On top of everything
financially
else.
on
Right. On
top
top
of
of
everything else. Yes.
grieving, trying to, work schedule and do all the things that they
Yes.
ask you at that time. Like that's just a lot and it's super heavy. And I can only imagine having to navigate that. And like you said, even just going through the what ifs with anything. Like I feel like that can go, like you said, not even towards death, just in general. How are we gonna navigate any of these hard
Yes.
things?
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of those discussions are always like, we'll deal with it tomorrow. It's that we're going to put it off and put it off and put it off. And the next thing you know, it's too late, and in all different kinds of topics, it's make time for it. If you're laying in bed at night, instead of scrolling on your phone or watching TV, turn it off and have that discussion together. And even if it's surface level, like just bring it up and talk about it or bring it up and be like, okay, that's a good point. Let's give some time to really think about this and let's touch base again in tomorrow night or at the end of the week. It's just I really feel like that's something I wish we would have done was every scenario. And it's not always, you don't always think of every scenario,
Right.
but I feel like the more you talk about it, the more you think of other things to add on to said topic. And that kind of brings me to, and I had told you and Pam, I'm hoping. So Josh's birthday is August 17th and mine's August 18th, which is another crappy month for me. But I'm hoping by that point, I have been working on a kind of how to get through and prepare for loss.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and those questions and those tough questions to talk about with each other. As I've gone through this, not all the questions did Josh and I talk about,
Right.
but I wish we did, because I've done my research and a lot of those preparations is almost all financials, which is
Yes.
great. And don't get me wrong. Like, I mean, that's something that should also be done, but it's also the day-to-day life stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and how would you recommend I handle this situation? Or, just have this discussion about this topic, have this discussion about this topic. So it's in the works, but it's something I'm very passionate about and something I preach often to my followers that have those tough discussions. And like I said, you don't always think of the topic. So I'm doing the work for y'all.
I love
Um,
that though. I think that, and that was, kind of segueing into what's next for you, because I honestly think creating a guide like that kind of goes off of experiences that you've had, things that have come up, because like you said, not everything's out there. Like that's not out there. The like random things that might pop up that you don't think about in your everyday life, because it is a lot of it's financial. I mean, kind of going back to like Kenny being in the army, we had to fill out stuff, but it's all financial. Like if something
yeah.
happens to him, like this is what. And so kind of watching you through your journey, it has opened my eyes to there are a lot of things we need to discuss, because you're not going to think about it unless it happens. And so
Yeah.
I love that you are creating something for people to have for the what ifs.
Hmm.
And I'm super excited for that. And I love that you're kind of doing it around that time. I think that will bring joy to that season, and
I know. And
definitely
that's kind of what I told myself was like, the holidays and March, because he passed away in March and our anniversary's in March. And then August is our birthdays. And like those kind of 3 seasons in my life are struggles for me. And
yeah.
so that was exactly it of why I chose those around that time, was because
Hmm.
I wanted to be meaningful, but I also want something to give me joy in a hard time, and something that I'm like, I did that. I'm proud
Hmm.
of. And I did this because of us, and just to honor Josh. And it was definitely kind of it's my motivation of that
Right.
timeline.
I love that. Well, is there anything else that you're working on this year? Is that like the big thing, or anything else that you want to kind of leave us with today?
So that's kind of like my main focus. Another thing that I also had mentioned with you and Pam is, so I previously had a podcast with a fellow widow called Widowed by 30. And it is something I am definitely thinking of picking back up. And now that I have gotten some time under my belt of, what this journey has been like, and, I journal quite often, or not necessarily write down journal, but like I have note files in my phone, never ending, of just like thoughts and things and how I've processed and so on and so forth, that I'm just like, I haven't shared it on social media, or I've very much talked about it like surface level, because I feel like on social you can only go so in depth
Right.
with it.
So deep. Hmm.
So I'm really, really, really praying about it right now. But I do think it is something I want to get back into. I feel like there's just so much information that's not out there that needs to be
Hmm.
given. And I feel selfish keeping it to myself. And so I think me starting up a podcast again, and probably solo, is definitely in the works for me. I still got to kind of line out some things and make a few more decisions about it. I will keep y'all posted on that, and then y'all can let MBS MBS's followers know,
Yeah,
and if that's something they're
absolutely.
interested in, they can check it
And I
out.
am going to tag the podcast to our show notes too, because I do feel like even the past episodes that y'all did
Yes.
together, that they're so beneficial just to hear the different
Yes.
perspectives. But
Yeah,
I
and that was
definitely
something when we went, we decided to part ways. And in the podcast, for me, it was like, well, everything we discussed and recorded, like, we're keeping it. We
right,
don't want to take that away from people. So it is
right.
still on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. And then we have kind of little snippets and stuff on our Instagram, and I think our Facebook also.
So widowed by 30. That's a little plug there. But I definitely, something else came up kind of going back to just everything that you've got going on and moving forward. I was listening to a video earlier. I don't even know where it came from. And it was talking about a verse in the Bible is talking about like how the silver goes into the fire.
Mm-hmm.
So like whenever they heat up silver in a fire, they have to watch it and keep their eyes off of it, because if they leave it in the fire too long, then it damages it.
Yeah.
And the analogy plays so much into to your story, because what happens, I think the question was, well, how do you know whenever the silver's ready? And it's because you can see your image in it. And to me, that was just like everything that you have been through, you've been in the fire. And so
Mm-hmm.
now it's like you're ready. Like that's why I said I feel like this is your year, because the image of God is in you. Like that part where you're inspiring, you've been on your faith journey, you're moving forward. And I feel like he has just continuously prepared you for all the things that you have going on this year. And so we're going to continue to follow your journey, obviously, with being the Beyond the Cape icon. We have a photo shoot coming up that we're going to have you in and have all your information on our website. And obviously, once the collection's launched, we're going to have all that tagged in also. But definitely, if you're not following Katey, go follow her. She's everything and very consistent on social media. She's like my daily go-to whenever I go to look at it. What she's doing today. But so thank you so much. And I just appreciate you being on the podcast today and being able to share your story and being able to share why you chose the affirmations and the collection name and everything like that.
Yeah. And again, I love you and Pam so much. And I appreciate y'all and this opportunity and opportunities in the future. And I am so excited to see where this goes for MBS. I know there's great things, it's not just, y'all aren't just other people out there like, oh, I want to start a small business. Y'all have made this faith centered. Y'all have made it more than that. Y'all are thinking of the customers and just, every time I try and talk about it, I'm literally speechless. Like, it just brings my heart so much joy. I feel like it's just this amazing, and it's gonna go places. And I'm just so overjoyed that I get to be a part of it and to share the pieces and own all the pieces.
She definitely
in every
rocks them.
color. I am committed, y'all.
Yeah.
They are just amazing. So I'm
Thank
super
you.
happy for y'all and thankful for this opportunity.
And we love to have you on this journey with us. We wouldn't want it any other way. So we appreciate you so much.
Well, thank you.
To kind of wrap things up, we always kind of end with our little saying. So, you are strong, you are capable, and you are worthy. We love you and we're endlessly rooting for you. So make sure, leave a review if you haven't yet. Tell us any topics you want to hear and be on the lookout for more episodes to come. Thank y'all.
Bye.
Well, that's a wrap on today's episode of Finding My Best Self. It's been real. It's been fun. We hope you found a piece of your story in ours and feel a little more inspired to chase after your best self.
And don't forget to share this episode with someone who needs a little boost today or a good laugh. And make sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode.
Nothing says owning your confidence like a new outfit from MBS Fit Co. Check out the show notes for the link to shop our luxury athleisure. Go ahead, girl. Treat yourself.
And if you've got a story to share or a topic you're dying for us to cover, drop us a line. Our email is in the show notes. Just reach out and let's keep the conversation going.
So until next time, keep owning your confidence, embracing the chaos, and remember, the best version of you is just an episode away.
And again, we love you and we're endlessly rooting for you.